Wearing my natural hair pulled back today. I've been sporting my natural hair for a little bit. I'll probably go back to wearing my hair extensions when I order me some new ones. I like to wear curly, big hair extensions that look very similar to my natural hair. But today it's just gotta let my hair breathe. So anyway, I came on here to talk about some things that I've been seeing in the I guess in entertainment, like sometimes I'll go online and I'll see stuff on MSN or I'll hear about it on a channel that I follow. So we're going to talk about two black people that are like in the media. The first person I want to talk about is Dr. Umar Johnson. So in a way a bit of a controversial figure. I'm not really a big fan of Dr. Umar Johnson. I feel like he's Afrocentrist. That is the impression that I get. Um, I try like when I was in college and I was studying women studies, women and gender studies, and I was a major in psychology. I also took African American studies and sociology. So like when I was studying these things, people kept discussing Dr. Omar Johnson or Umar Johnson. I went to HBCU, and while I never graduated, I did try to ignore a lot of the content that came from this man. But recently, um, his daughter came out and stated that he's hypocritical. He really speaks ill about women who are single mothers, but yet he has a daughter who he's never seen, and he's never married her mother, from what his own daughter is saying. And we don't know, I don't know all the facts, but I seen a live that he did in response to his 22-year-old daughter saying whatever she needed to say about how her life was and how her biological father treated her mother with violence. So, like, he was physically abusive according to her claims. And his response to those claims was to name call her, name call her mother, undermine her claims, and refuse to find a resolution. That was his response. And for someone who is seemingly educated and speaks so passionately about people's ignorance in the Black community and how they have to work on themselves, his response exposed the type of nonsense and ignorance that's going on with him. And there's a lot of people in the spotlight like him. And we have to start really like dissecting the mentality of people who have these large followings and say a couple of really good things. They're like wordsmiths, and we really need to dissect who they truly are, where they're coming from, and listen to what they're saying. So, a better response would have been, I love you, you're my child, and things didn't work out in the past with me and your mother. I am sorry for whatever it is I've done to make you feel like weren't supported by me. And I hope that we can find a resolution today in private. And it would also be very wise of him to admit the fact that who he claims to be today isn't who he was, because it's the only thing that makes actual logical fucking sense. And the problem is that his response reveals his narcissism and ignorance, which really needs to be addressed before people in the Black community continue to support him. Now, we can talk about the next person, DDG and Holly Bailey. I'm going to talk about both of them because they are very young people and they have a child, and having a child is like having like children are a blessing. I love kids. I think that they're honest, innocent, mostly mostly innocent, but very honest little people. And that's refreshing because older people, adults, we don't tend to always be forthright. It's not easy to be forthright. I think that it's it's better to try to be, truthful in all things. But we're human beings, and most of the time you'll find younger people just say what's on their mind, and it's very refreshing. But anyway, these are two young adults who have a small child. And while it's a great thing that she actually survived childbirth and she's given birth to a healthy son, he has to get a legal team together so that the person that she is involved with, who is the child's father, there cannot exploit her or continuously violate her privacy and um, honestly smear her character, because it seems like that's what's happening. Like, he has gone on social media quite a few times, but this is the time that he's gone on social media to say that she's preventing him from having a relationship with his son, which, people have this preconceived notion that Black women are the reason for the Black family home being broken down, and if it's not Black women, it's the government. But I don't really hear too many people saying that it's the men who are impregnating women and then choosing to not marry them and then choosing to neglect them. That is the issue. So, you can't, it doesn't make fucking logical sense. Forgive my language, but it's sometimes I get very frustrated with the the way things are. And anyway, it doesn't make logical sense to consider men the leaders and the creators of the world, appoint them as leaders, and then not hold them accountable when they're creating broken homes. So, if a man gets a woman pregnant out of wedlock and then decides to quote unquote make an honest woman out of her and marry her and steps up to the plate, then that's a great thing. And so if that happens, then, it's only going to benefit the child more than there being two different households and having to split time and two different ways of approaching things instead of a unified like way of raising a child. So, I grew up in a broken home. Like, my parents were married for the first 6 years or 5 years of my life, and that was it. And so those early memories helped me a bit to kind of see the value in having like mom and dad home together. But my brother didn't have that privilege. So, you know, I'm the sibling who did get married, even though I did divorce. Um, and women, we take a lot of the blame for uh these the divorces and stuff, and it doesn't make sense when we live in a society that gives men a lot of power, and we this is a society in the United States, at least, where it's the main religion is Christianity, which puts the man at the head of the household. So if that is the case, then it would be up to him to decide, you know, what will happen. It's a lot of the responsibility falls on the man, a lot of the repercussions and stuff. So while there are women in this world who may not want to settle down and just have kids, oftentimes what we find is that the people doing the impregnating, the men who choose to impregnate women, They made a conscious choice to not marry them first. And that's something that we really need to start like looking into and talking about. And that's what Dr. Omar Johnson did. And that's what DDG, that's his stage name, whatever his real name is, I don't know. But that's what he did. And the thing is, there's repercussions, there's spiritual repercussions, and there's karmic repercussions to doing that. And if you did marry her first, and then she did file for divorce and decide that she doesn't want you, then you can have a legitimate reason to complain, and you have the right to file for full custody because you married her and the child was conceived in a marriage legally in the United States, you have the right to file for full custody. If you have a child out of wedlock and then after that get married, your rights are limited. You have to go and, file, get your paternity, go to the deeds record place and, you know, apply for your paternity and everything, and then you can file for full custody. So there's other steps that you have to do. And so it's really simple to me. Don't impregnate someone that you don't plan to marry. That's really what we need to talk about. And so like with DDG and Holly Belly, forgive me, the situation is they're very young, they're very immature, especially let's just look at DDG. DDG is very immature. He does things that are terrible. He makes his money off of exploiting himself, people around him, and it's not a healthy way to make money. Holly Bailey has an actual talent. She can sing, she can play musical instruments, and she's an actress. She has an actual job. Like I don't think what DJ does is a real job. But anyway, so Bailey has an actual job. And the thing is, she needs to wise up a bit, which is hard to do at that age, but she needs to do it because there's no reason for him to be out here, you know, exploiting her and his very own son to the extent that it's happening. There needs to be some legal things put into place. She has the resources and money to do it. So my only assumption is that she's choosing not to out of her emotions, maybe out of, you know, just being naive. We all have had those moments. I've had plenty of moments of naivety. The point is, it's a lot. It's unfortunate when people are very successful and talented and they have a lot of privileges and they don't do the right things with what they have. So this is my commentary on those two things. I hope that what I say can bring to light on like where we need to move forward as the Black community. And I just hope that it helps. That's it. Bye.